Good morning, everybody. It's so good to be back and good to see everybody. Mr. Chairman Comer needs to leave, so I'm going to yield to him first thing and let him go first. So, Chairman Comer?
Well, thank you, Chairwoman McClain. Yesterday, Speaker Johnson and members of the House Oversight Committee met with several survivors of the horrific crimes committed by Epstein and Maxwell. The abuse these survivors endured is both heartbreaking and sickening. They were not only victims of unspeakable crimes, but were also betrayed by their own government, which failed to deliver justice and accountability. The House Oversight Committee is committed to providing transparency and accountability for these brave survivors and for the American people. Over the past 6 weeks, the Oversight Committee has worked tirelessly to obtain documents and testimony related to Epstein and Maxwell. We have subpoenaed Maxwell for a deposition. We have subpoenaed the Department of Justice for documents. We have issued subpoenas to 10 former federal officials for depositions. We have requested documents from the Epstein estate, and we have secured a transcribed interview with former Labor Secretary Alex Acosta. This is the most comprehensive investigation into Epstein and Maxwell to date, and we're already getting results. We have already deposed former Attorney General Bill Barr. The DOJ has produced nearly 34,000 pages of documents with more to come. These documents are now accessible on our website. We put every single document on the website. The Epstein estate will begin producing documents on September 8th. The committee is operating at an unprecedented pace and doing the work the right way. What we heard yesterday from the survivors is that they support these efforts and they support the pursuit of transparency and accountability. We will continue working tirelessly for these survivors and for the American people. I want to thank Speaker Johnson and his leadership team for giving us all the tools we need to get all the information that the American people want and that the survivors deserve to be able to finally give them some accountability. And I want to thank the Trump administration for working with us and turning over 34,000 documents so far. With that, I yield back.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Chairman Comer, and thank you for all your hard work on this issue. With that, I want to welcome you all back to a safe DC. I know that sounds crazy, but rather than applauding President Trump's decisive action to actually restore law and order and reduce crime in America, Democrats have defended gang members, thieves, and lawbreakers. I mean, can you guys believe that? That sounds odd, right? Right? Sounds pretty common, unfortunately. Nevertheless, Republicans remain focused on delivering not only the physical safety, but President Trump has championed, but the financial security for every single working America. Because President Trump believes in a safe America. And safe America means safe in the streets, but it also means safe and security financially and economically. That's why we've spent the last month working with actual Americans in our district. And I personally spoke with workers at manufacturing facilities in Michigan, and then we went on the road in New Jersey, Pennsylvania. These folks work hard, and many of these folks work more than 40 hours a week. So let me tell you that it was an honor to let them know that the extra hours they put in will actually not be taxed. And of course, I wasn't the only one standing with the American workers in the past month. House Republicans showed up in coffee shops, small businesses, schools, gas stations, all across America. And if you own or work at a small business, Congressman Miller Meeks was out there talking about the tax cuts heading their way. And if you work in energy, Congresswoman Fedorchak was out there talking about the ways that this bill will help secure your job and actually reduce gas prices. I think we had Labor Day just recently, right? We just came back from Labor Day. Gas prices were the lowest they've been in 5 years. What a success that is. And if you work in healthcare, Congressman Barrett was on the ground hosting a town hall about what this bill does to actually improve healthcare in rural areas. And if you've worked your whole entire life, Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart sat down with seniors about the historic tax cut they will receive because of the working families tax cut bill. Wherever you work, the bottom line remains the same. Republicans are fighting for every single American worker, and we are proud of the results that we have delivered. Republicans voted to keep money in Americans' pockets, while the Democrats voted to take money from Americans' pockets. Republicans delivered no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. While every single Democrat, and let me say that again, every single Democrat voted to increase your taxes by at least $1,700 for the average middle-class family. Every single Democrat voted to raise taxes by at least $1,700. Please cover that. Republicans want to keep more money in your pocket. Democrats think that you should pay more money to the government because the government just runs so doggone efficiently, right? House Republicans are doing what is needed to be done to deliver for the American worker. And with that, I want to turn it over to someone who has actually worked hard for his constituents, Congressman David Taylor of the great state of Ohio. It pains me to say Ohio,
I know.
as in Michigan.
I know, well, you're still recently the winner, so that's okay. Thank you, Chairwoman. During the August work period, I spent time in Ohio's 2nd Congressional District talking with local small business owners, farmers, manufacturers about the issues that are most important to them. I heard over and over again how important the Working Families Tax Cut Act is in transforming the lives of hardworking Ohioans by lowering taxes so they can spend their hard-earned money on what they need, helping small businesses grow and develop and revitalizing our main streets. As a third-generation small business owner, I know firsthand how a tough economy and skyrocketing taxes make it harder to turn a profit. When I popped into family-owned shops last month, store owners told me how grateful they were with the expanded 199A tax credit that was helping hand they needed to stay in business so they could maintain a presence in our communities. Beyond business, Ohioans made it clear that they don't want illegal immigrants taking benefits that are meant for Americans in need. This is just Ohio common sense. The Working Families Tax Cut Act benefits vulnerable Americans so they can get back up on their feet while kicking off illegal immigrants who never should have received taxpayer benefits in the first place. A common myth surrounding the act is that it will shut down rural hospitals serving Americans across our country, and especially in my district. That is far from the truth. In rural regions like Southern Ohio, the act includes a historic $50 billion investment in rural hospitals, and when I spoke with local healthcare providers, they confirmed how critical this funding is in meeting their most rural patients' needs, and they're very pleased with the results. For Will Minshaw, a young farmer in Pickaway County, Ohio, whose family farm is hitting 200 years in operation next year, the increase in the death tax exemption, which is made permanent in the bill, means it'll be even easier for the family to pass the farm down to him and to future generations. And with family farms making up 96% of all farms in my district, this is huge news for countless farming families in Southern Ohio. That, combined with expanded funding for agricultural trade programs and investment in crop insurance, will give family farmers peace of mind about staying in the business for years to come. I was also proud to see provisions of my USA Car Act, which co-sponsored with Senator Marino, included in the act. It will create a deduction of interest on purchase of American-made cars on your car loan. That'll create thousands of jobs across our nation, all while securing our nation's supply chains and invigorating our economy. The Working Families Tax Cut Act is paving the way for economic prosperity for hardworking Americans, and Ohio families are reaping the benefits. I was proud to support it and will continue advocating for the needs of Buckeye families in Congress. Thank you all for being here, and now I'd like to introduce Tom Click, CEO of an aluminum manufacturer, Patriot Industries in Louisa, Virginia. I knew I was going to do that. I got a friend named Louisa, Louisa, Virginia. Tom co-founded this business with his wife, Sarah, and will share a little bit about how the act benefits his employees.
See it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Click, and in 2010, my wife Sarah and I founded Patriot Industries. We're proud to be one of a growing number of American companies investing in U.S. manufacturing and bringing jobs back to our community. Like most family businesses, we started small with only 1,000 square feet of space and a used pipe threader that I purchased on eBay. Navigating the complicated tax code always seemed like to be a continual challenge until in 2012 when I faced a serious health crisis, and there were moments when we didn't know if the business would survive. But thanks to the strength and dedication of our incredible work family, we pulled through, I recovered, and today Patriot has 3 factories in the USA, 140,000 square feet of space with advanced manufacturing equipment, and employs nearly 100 hardworking team members. I'm here today to say thank you to congressional leadership and to President Trump for permanently locking in tax policies which are already having a positive impact not just on our family business, but on our employees and their families. Locking in the 20% small business deduction, restoring full equipment expensing, and protecting our family from the nightmare of the death tax, or as I call it, the survivor's tax, because that's who the burden ultimately falls on, are big wins for small businesses like ours. But most importantly, the One Big Beautiful Bill benefits our employees through lower tax rates, a larger child tax credit, and a doubled standard deduction, giving our hardworking team members more take-home pay for day-to-day necessities like groceries and helping them build a better future for their families. So on behalf of our family business, our nearly 100 employees and our trade association, the National Association of Electrical Distributors, thank you all for finally providing the tax certainty businesses like ours need to continue manufacturing more great American products and hiring more great American workers. Thank you, and may God bless you, and may God bless America.
Last week, 2 innocent lives were taken at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. As a Minnesotan, a father, and Catholic, words cannot begin to describe the amount of heartbreak and anger we feel over this unspeakable act of evil. Our prayers continue to be with the victims, their families, and everyone who is impacted by this horrific event. We pray because, despite what some may say, prayer is powerful. Thank you to FBI Director Patel, Deputy Director Bongino, and to our local law enforcement for all their efforts. Thank you to President Trump for reaching out to Governor Walz to offer support and ordering that all flags be flown at half-staff in honor of the victims. And thank you to Vice President J.D. Vance for being in Minnesota today to pay his respects to the victims of this tragedy and their families. They need to know that someone cares. This senseless tragedy was carried out by a very broken and deranged individual. He is the unfortunate picture of the current mental health crisis we have here in the United States, a mental health crisis that has been normalized and exacerbated by extreme Democrat policies. We cannot allow any more innocent lives to be taken by someone who should have received help long before they had a chance to become violent. Not to mention the far left anti-law enforcement policies of Tim Walz and Democrats in Minnesota that encourage crime. The way forward is to address the mental health crisis and empower law enforcement to crack down on crime, just as President Trump has done right here in our nation's capital. The American people elected our Republican trifecta with a mandate to restore law, order, and prosperity to our communities. And that is exactly what we have done over the last 7 months. This August, I had the privilege of being back in my home state to discuss how Republicans' working families tax cut is benefiting Minnesotans. It was an honor to host several Trump administration officials, including Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin, and Federal Transit Administration Administrator Mark Molinaro, who all helped highlight the ways this once-in-a-generation piece of legislation improves the lives of so many. From no tax on tips and overtime to historic tax relief for American manufacturers that you just heard about from Tom, Minnesota workers and businesses are benefiting from this monumental bill. While in my district, I got to visit New Flyers bus manufacturing plant alongside FTA Administrator Molinaro, American manufacturers like New Flyer can expect a major boost thanks to provisions like full expensing and bonus depreciation. With 12% of employment in Minnesota being in the manufacturing sector, hundreds of thousands of Minnesotan workers stand to benefit. The Republican trifecta's Working Families Tax Cut unleashes growth and opportunity like never before, and we're just getting started. With that, I turn it over to our great leader, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Whip, and our prayers are with you and the people of Minnesota for that tragic shooting. And as we come back to D.C., it is encouraging to see a much safer nation's capital. And it is clearly the result of the work of President Trump, who said early off he was going to make America safe again. And you don't just do it through words, you do it through actions. And those actions have been significant. Those actions are noticeable when you go around the district, when you talk to people here in D.C. who can feel the presence of those National Guard troops. I want to thank all the states who have sent National Guard troops. Proud that my home state, the Speaker's home state of Louisiana, is one of those who have sent over 100 of our Louisiana National Guard to be a part of helping making our nation's capital safe. And we're going to continue to take steps to do things here in Congress to address some of the other problems in our nation's capital. Worked closely, in fact, spoke with President Trump just a few days ago about some of the actions Congress needs to take to address the things that D.C. has done, self-inflicted wounds, so to speak, that they have passed through the council to make it easier for hardened criminals to walk free, even if they get arrested. Carjackings, you could carjack somebody at gunpoint, and frankly, a lot of the people who commit some of those violent crimes are younger people under 25. You could be 23 years old and walk out the next day if you get caught without serving any time in jail. And I think a lot of people are outraged by that, but it's ordinances on the books in D.C. that lead to that. It's soft on crime judges because of a weak judicial nominating commission that is stacked with far leftists who are who themselves soft on crime, and because of that you get judges that are soft on crime, and all that does is creates more victims, senseless, needless victims of crime that shouldn't be if you only had better ordinances. And so our oversight committee is going to be going to work next week passing a package of bills to address a lot of those problems that DC created, to fix it so that criminals can't just walk free. If they want to go commit tough crimes, they'll have to do the time for what they do on the streets. And I think that's a good thing, that we're going to be addressing that problem even more than what President Trump's already done. You can look at what the Oversight Committee has already done over the break. While a lot of people were home, a lot of Oversight Committee members were here getting that testimony that Chairman Comer talked about from those victims of the horrors of Epstein. And we're going to continue through the rule today, have a vote to force a lot of that information to be made public, to support the subpoenas that the committee's doing, to go even further than others want to go at getting that information out to the public, including going after the estate of Jeffrey Epstein, something others have refused to do. So we're not done, but it's going to be an important vote today on the House floor to show our support there. And then, of course, we are going to continue to talk about all the things that we passed just in these first 6 months, and obviously there's a lot more we want to do. There's a lot more we're doing just this week. Some great energy production bills, energy and water appropriations bill. Appropriators are having negotiations to try to get a resolution on the proper funding of government. All of that is still going on, but it's important when you go around the country and hear stories like we heard today of people that are now starting to make more investment in America because we stabilized the tax code. We prevented a massive tax increase on families all across this nation by passing the One Big Beautiful Bill. We modernize America's air traffic control system. We secure our border. We open up more energy production. All of the things that are going to help families have more money in their pockets, overtime workers, with no tax on tips. That's $1,700 more in the pockets of hardworking families, and the best is yet to come. There's a lot more we're going to do, and the person leading that charge is the fellow LSU alum, and yes, we are proud of our alma mater winning its opening game. It's going to have football back, college football. Some people might not say right now they're glad to have college football back, depending on how their team did. We are proud of what's now the number 3 team in the nation, the LSU Fighting Tigers, another Fighting Tiger, and Cover Boy. If you brought your copies of Time magazine, he might actually sign a copy for you. Not every day that a Republican gets on the cover of Time magazine, but he has exhibited great leadership. He's gotten a very, very narrow House Republican majority to come together time and time again to deliver big wins for American families, and I'm glad it's being noticed nationally. It deserves to be. Our Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Welcome back to everybody. We come back very excited, and not just because the LSU Tigers prevailed on Saturday, but because we're in a really good mood. You know, the House Republicans went out, fanned out across the country over the district work period, and got a lot of work done. And they were talking about the One Big Beautiful Bill, which has also become known as the Working Families Tax Cut Act, because that's what it principally represents. And it was met with great reception everywhere. I'm so grateful for leaders like Tom, the Clicks, who are these small business owners that is the heart of the U.S. economy, and they make it run and they provide jobs. And we're trying to do everything we can to ensure that they have success, because the success of small business owners and hardworking families is the success of America. And that's what our principles and policies provide. And so we're so excited about that. We went out, fanned out across the country. We met with business leaders just like this, with workers, farmers, families in our districts to discuss our legislation and how it's already making a positive impact in communities across the country. I spent the month traveling my own district and 12 other states, and we went quite literally coast to coast, got a great reception everywhere we went. In my district, I met with farmers who will benefit from the permanent relief from that death tax, and small business owners just like this, who can now plan for the future better because of tax certainty and increases in the small business deductions. In Nashville, Tennessee, where I was, I met with tip workers who will keep more of what they earn thanks to the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. And they were overjoyed by that, and we interviewed them and got their comments on it. I was in Idaho Falls, Idaho, visited with local manufacturer there who employs 5,200 people, one of the biggest, most impressive businesses nationwide. And thanks to this bill, they can now permanently deduct more of their critical investments in research and development on their products, and they will help their company and thereby create more jobs and help their workers. Look, whether you're a farmer, a bartender, a stay-at-home parent, a law enforcement officer, a business owner, any profession in between, the legislation that we passed is going to benefit you. It's going to benefit all Americans because, as we've noted, it was written for lower and middle class earners, and they are going to feel the effects of that in very short order. We're going to continue to speak the truth to the American people, and we're really excited, I'll just note parenthetically, as we head into the midterm election, about the results that we can point to that are going to help everyone. Regarding DC crime, it's not just the One Big Beautiful Bill that's helping American people. Since President Trump took control of the crime in this city, and so many of you live here and you experience this, they took control of the DC Metro Police Department, and the crime in our nation's capital has fallen off a cliff. Here's some stats. Carjackings are down 85%. Some of you, I won't ask for a raise of hands, but some of y'all live in the Navy Yard. I mean, people were scared to go to their cars at night. That's not happening anymore. I was down there yesterday, and we have National Guard, loyal, faithful, brave National Guardsmen and women walking the streets in full, with their arms. Makes a big difference. Carjacking's down 85%, robbery's down 42%, violent crime down 25%. DC went 11 straight days without a murder. That sounds like, wow, why would you be, because that's an amazing thing around here. Nearly 1,300 criminals have been arrested and 135 illegal guns removed from the DC streets. DC residents, and the residents of every big American city, should be able to walk freely without fear of being mugged and violently assaulted and carjacked or shot at. I mean, this is common sense, and it's clear this action is needed. 81% of the people in this country believe crime is a major problem in large American cities, and we ought to do something about it, and we're the team that will. President Trump is clearly listening. His efforts have been so effective here in D.C. that Mayor Bowser, who is a Democrat, as you know, signed an executive order just yesterday welcoming federal law enforcement in D.C. indefinitely, okay? I hope my Democrat colleagues here will wake up and realize that crime is not a partisan issue. It can't be. Violent criminals don't know if you're a Democrat or a Republican before they put a gun to the back of your head and demand you give up your keys. We can't stand for that. And the Democrats should set aside their pride and stop defending violent criminals, which is amazingly what so many of them are doing right now, and work with the Trump administration to put the safety of the American people first. Regarding government funding, just very quickly, you've heard Leader Scalise address this. House Republicans are continuing the FY26 appropriations process in our efforts to responsibly fund the government while also cutting spending. Why? Because, my friends, we have a $37 trillion federal debt. Now, remember, we cut $1.6 trillion in the big, beautiful bill, and that was a huge leap forward because it's the largest amount of savings ever achieved by any legislative body in the history of mankind, but it's not enough. We have to continue to spend more responsibly. This week, we'll bring up the Energy and Water Appropriations Bill to the floor, and Chairman Cole is diligently working to get all 12 of the appropriations bills out of his committee. As we always are, the House Republicans are committed to keeping the government open. And unfortunately, it seems like not all the Democrats agree with that, and they're beginning to apply their government shutdown pressure. But I want you to remember one thing. All but one House Democrat voted to shut down the government in March. And we expect, sadly, that may happen again, that will be their inclination. If the government shuts down, it'll be because congressional Democrats rejected common sense solutions to fund the government and instead caved to their far left base. But I'm going to say this. I mean, look, I mean this sincerely. If Democrats are willing to work with us and think responsibly about how we can spend less than we did last year, then we are all open to that. Our nation is saddled with that debt, and we've got to figure this out. Last thing I'll note, and then we'll go to questions. I just got a comment on Governor Newsom and his anti-Christian rhetoric, anti-religious rhetoric. Just one personal point here. Last week, I mean, he called me out personally a couple times, and he shamelessly mocked the victims of Annunciation Catholic School for praying after the shooting. Went online and did it in writing. I just found it reprehensible. I mean, it's really sick. In response to a video of Caroline Leavitt discussing the power of prayer amid great tragedy, the governor posted, quote, "These children were literally praying as they got shot at." I mean, why? Like, why would he do that? Why would you do that? Except that you were starving for attention. It's detestable. 2 children were murdered. More than a dozen were hospitalized, and Gavin Newsom's response was to sneer and condemn those who seek out our Creator at our darkest moments. I just thought it was evil. In fact, it's indicative of such a profound moral decay that really the only hope for Gavin is prayer, ironically, and we're told in Scripture to do that. As people of faith, we believe in the strength of prayer and intercession. It's foundational to who we are as believers, and by the way, who we are as Americans. It's woven into the fabric of our country, our deep Judeo-Christian heritage, and it's something that we represent. And as a leader of the state with the largest Christian population in America, I will keep Governor Newsom and also the people of California in my prayers, and I think you ought to be called out, and anybody who does that should be called out for it. With that, take a few questions. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I will tell you that we've heard some horrific stories of these organ transplants and all of this in China, that they take it from unwilling donors, okay, to put it mildly. And the fact that they were caught on a hot mic, the first I've heard of that, is very telling. It tells you what their worldview is in contrast to ours. Speaking of evil, we've heard of, terrible stories. I've heard terrible stories of the Uyghurs, for example, this persecuted religious minority that they were using to harvest organs from. I mean, look, I've not seen the evidence of that, but if the leaders are talking about it, it should alarm us. In the United States, we're going to stand for morality and ethics, and we're going to stand against that. There's legislation, as you know, that would address it, and we might need to put that at the top of the priority list if that's what's happening. So that's news to me. Yes, sir.
Hi,
Yeah, it's the speaker. No, I saw somewhere that I was running through and I saw on Fox News or something said, curious the speaker wasn't at the meeting this morning. Can I tell you why, since you just asked? My youngest son, Will, made the starting wide receiver position at his local school here for the freshman team. And at a big practice on Saturday with the quarterbacks and wide receivers, he fell and broke his collarbone. So I had to take my son to school this morning to get him situated because he's hobbling around with a thing. And he's heartbroken because we just started the season and I'm heartbroken as well. That's why I missed it. I texted James Blair and Caroline Levitt and with a laugh emoji and said, now the scandal is I'm not with you to discuss our strategy. The speaker's clearly in charge of this. The speaker works around the clock. I'm talking about myself in the third person here.
Speaker travels all around the country to help us expand our majority.
Right. And we have a strategy that we're working on. Richard Hudson, also the NRCC chair, is doing an extraordinary job. So he and I are in a partnership with this, with all the leaders and all the members. Last year, I'll share with you the sad statistic. I did over 360 campaign events over 240 cities in 40 states and logged enough miles to circle the globe 5.5 times. That's a real stat. I'm doing it again. I'm on that same track. So clearly I am hands-on every day that we're not in session and I'm not in my district working. I'm on the road doing this. So we're closely coordinated with the White House, and that's the beauty of it, because the political team in the White House, the president himself, he and I spoke about this most recently last night at about 11:45 p.m. about our strategy to win the midterms. He's dialed in on it, we're dialed in on it, but clearly, I'm the quarterback of this effort, and I fully endorse everything that was said over there because it was all prearranged with me. So that was the only reason I wasn't there. Yeah.
Last question.
I got it, yeah.
There was a rebranding of the one beautiful bill to try to go over Indian tax credit. Is that a sign that you guys are losing the messaging towards Democrats? The polling is not doing well for you guys, particularly across multiple polls. What more can we have to do to actually stop it?
Yeah, it's not a rebranding, and what we have to do to sell it is tell the truth, and that's the beauty of it, okay? So I'm not surprised that some of the early polling was less than favorable in some areas of the country because there has been a full-on strategy by, frankly, the mainstream media and the Democrats, of course, to try to misrepresent what's in the bill. If you look at the polls of all the individual provisions of the bill, they're wildly popular. I mean, we did things, there were 80-20 issues in the legislation, and it's going to help everybody. So it's not a rebranding. What we encourage everybody to do during the August district work period is go into their districts, do town halls, business roundtables, meet with everybody, constituents, and just take the time to explain what's in it. Because in almost every scenario, literally like 99% of the time, when you explain what's in it, light bulbs go off and people start standing and applauding because they know it's going to help them. Now, here's the other benefit of that. The reason we put it on such an aggressive timetable, which some of the people in this room didn't believe we'd get it done, the reason we had to get it done by the summer is because we wanted everybody to feel the actual effects of this extraordinary legislation before they vote in the midterms. We made a mistake in the first Trump administration. In hindsight, we got the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act done, our reconciliation package then, but we didn't get it done until December. And so people didn't feel the effects before they voted in the midterm, and we lost our majority. We are not going to make that mistake again. So the reason we put this on such an aggressive timetable was to get it done, get it signed into law, get it enacted. The relief is already being felt, as you're testified to today, and it will be felt in great effect by everyone when they go vote. So that huge demographic shift that we saw in 2024 in the election, we will hold those new demographics, new people who came in the party, because we have demonstrated for them they made the right decision. While Democrats are flailing and about to elect an actual Marxist to be the mayor of America's largest city and formerly the cradle of capitalism, we are out talking about common sense solutions for the pocketbooks of moms and dads and hardworking families everywhere. And they're going to feel that, and they're going to reward us for it. Last one over here is.
Speaker, thank you so much. The NDAA, pro-life provisions, transgender surgeries, is that still a red line for the Republican Party? And then also, Democrats are considering midterm conventions. Is this something that Republicans are considering as well?
I'll address the NDAA first and then that. Yeah, I mean, I don't expect there's going to be poison pills. That the NDAA has been worked towards as a bipartisan measure, which it traditionally has been, and I think leaders on both sides are committed to that. With regard to the convention, I'm all in and excited, and I'm glad you asked about it. The president called me when I was on the road maybe a week ago or whenever this made news on a morning. It was like 6:30 in the morning where I was out west, and he was here, and he said, "Mike, I got a great idea." And I said, "What's that?" "How about a midterm convention?" Don't intend to do it in his voice, but a midterm convention. And I was like, "That's genius." He said, "It's never been done before." that's right, and that would be such a great rallying point for us in the fall, right before the election, to lead up to that, to the momentum that we have so much to sell and talk about and celebrate. And of course, he loves a big show, so he and I both agreed, and he was going to call Leader Thune and of course our new chair of the RNC, because they get to put on the show. And so I think everybody's on board, because when I was packing my bag to leave that hotel room, about 13 minutes after I hung up the phone with him, Fox News and the Chiron said, breaking news, president calls for midterm convention. So I think that's a done deal now. So look, I'm really excited about it. I can't wait. We have so much to celebrate, and it will be hilarious if the Democrats try to do the same, because if they're going to put on display what they did at their little workshop a couple weeks ago, bring it, okay? So all we got to do is find the right location and get this thing planned, and we're going to be excited. And we'll be bringing, I'm sure, folks like the Clicks, like Tom here, to come and tell his story about what's happening, and everybody will resonate, and all the people will say amen. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Bless you. All right.